Hi, Dhruva.
So we'll just start in a couple of minutes. It's 4:28 p.m. So we'll just start in a couple of minutes.
Perfect. Makes sense. Yeah. One, shall I kick off, Helen?
Sorry?
Shall I kick off? Are we good to kick off?
Yeah. So I'll give an introduction about you, about Lumiere Education, and then it's over to you, Dhruva.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Yeah. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the second session of Profile Building Fair on research programs. We have Dhruva Bhat with us from Lumiere Research Scholar Program. In this session, Dhruva Bhat would talk about Lumiere Research Scholar Program to understand the various research programs, how it would help you to create an impact, gain expertise in a topic, and stand out in the admission procedures. Before we start the session, let me give you a brief of Dhruva. Dhruva is the director of the Lumiere Research Scholar Program and a PhD candidate at Oxford's Department of International Development. Before this, he graduated from Harvard with an undergrad degree in economics and from Oxford with an MPhil in development studies as a Rhodes Scholar. Welcome, Dhruva, to the Next Genius webinar series on research programs.
Hi, Helen. Thank you so much for that kind introduction. And I'm so excited to see such great interest, all 285 of you in the audience who are interested in hearing more about research and profile building as you think about universities in the future. To just add a bit of context to what Helen said, it's true that I'm a PhD student at Oxford and I studied at Harvard before this. But before that, I grew up in Chennai, not too far away from where a lot of you are probably located, and spent the first 17 years of my life there. And from pre-kindergarten, when I was 3 till 17, when I graduated from high school, I was in the same school all the way through. And it was a CBSE school, which was an incredible educational opportunity in that it really pushed me to work hard, to learn a lot of material, and prepared me very well for the kind of demanding course loads and schedules that university will take. But a CBSE education, I think, especially in the Indian context, simply didn't prepare me well for applications to the US, and it certainly didn't prepare me for the rigor and the kinds of thought that a US education demands of you. So I've always been interested in research, even back when I didn't know what it was. And the way that I entered it was not through my school system, but through debating. And so I did competitive debating where I debated for the Indian national debating team. And it was through that that I started exploring all of these big questions about the world. Why some countries were rich and other countries were not, why some countries managed to be politically developed and other countries were not. These were the types of questions that I found myself fascinated by, and I enjoyed doing the work of reading up things online and trying to put together information. But it was only when I went to university that I realized that even that act of reading things online that people do was not actually what research in its truest form is. And so that's what I want to tell you a little bit more about during my presentation today, which is to introduce you to the Lumiere Research Scholar Program, and through that, explain to you what the process of research looks like when we do it, and how that can help you think about your next steps, both for university and beyond. So I'm going to get my presentation up. And if any of you have questions, please do throw them in the Q&A, and I'd be happy to answer them towards the end. So what is Lumiere Education? So Lumiere Education, it was founded by me and a friend of mine from undergrad named Steven, who studied data science and statistics and then worked at McKinsey and in Vietnam. And it's, in its essence, a selective research program for talented and ambitious students like yourselves. If you're selected in the program, you work one-on-one with a researcher from a top university to pursue an independent research project of your own. So this is something that you are leading and thinking about yourself, and the mentor is serving as a guide and a supervisor through the process. And what is the goal of this research? We touched upon some of these things before, but I wanted to dive into it in greater detail. The basic thing that you're doing is creating this independent research paper of your own of 15 to 20 pages, something that very few students do in high school. Even if you're in the IB, very few students go above and beyond what they do in school and do something independently of their own. And so what that allows you to do when you're thinking about it from the perspective of profile building for internships or university applications is a few different things. You're able to demonstrate advanced work in your field of interest. Lots of students can say they're interested in history or that they're interested in physics, but very few students can point to an independent paper that they've worked on that demonstrates that they've gone above and beyond to learn more about it. What that then means is that you're able to stand out in the admissions process as well, because it's not just on the academic front, but also on the personal front. You're able to talk about the kinds of experiences you had while doing research, how it opened up your minds to new perspectives, how you overcame failure and decided that you were going to put in the work and time needed to do well in a program like this. All of these make for really rich stories that you can talk about in your college application essays, in your supplemental essays, in your interviews, things that can help point out how you're different to other candidates. And then, of course, you build a relationship with a PhD researcher from a top university, someone that you work with one-on-one, week on week, who can really understand your strengths and weaknesses. And over time, if you build a good relationship, someone that you could even look to and ask for a recommendation letter when you're applying to university. And all of these are in pursuit of the crucial thing here, which is building the critical thinking, problem solving, and writing skills, which will actually prepare you to do well at university. So it doesn't just stop at profile building to get into university, but also prepares you to do well at university and beyond. So all of those are the kinds of things that we hope you're able to accomplish and achieve through doing a research paper. And that's the goal of something like this. In just the last school year, we've had over 1,500 students apply to the program and have had nearly 600 students do it from over 25 countries. This is drawing from a pool of over 400 mentors. And of course, we do offer need-based financial aid as well, which you can apply for as part of the application form. And we've so far given out over $50,000 worth of aid in just this year. So we're very proud of the students that we've had and how far we've come. And I want to give you a sense of what research takes. What does it look like? So it begins with having an idea, something that you think you find curious, that you find interesting. This doesn't have to be a well-formed topic yet. You don't need to know exactly what you're doing research in, but you do need to know, I'm broadly interested in finance, or I'm broadly interested in social psychology. Once you've narrowed that down, you then fill out a written application, which asks you about what is your area of interest, why are you interested in it, and crucially, how do you plan to make time for this program, balancing it along with school and all of the other things that you do. If you're shortlisted for an interview, you come in and speak to us for about 15 to 20 minutes, where we dig deeper and try and understand how good of a communicator are you, how much do you know about your area of interest, and what is truly motivating you to do a program like this. If you pass that test, you're then admitted into the program and you're told who your mentor will be. And if you're happy with the mentor, you then kick the program off either by paying tuition or getting financial aid. And then you begin your process of research. And what is that research? What does that mean? It begins with really you and the mentor getting to know each other, because you have a wide variety of interests. You're a person with a strong background, with different levels of experience, and we want you and the mentor to begin the program on the same page. So you sit down and have a conversation where you introduce yourselves, where you learn about each other's backgrounds, what your expectations are for the program, and how you plan to deal with things like communication, meeting times, all of that. Once you've done that, for the rest of the program, you continue to meet with your mentor one-on-one once a week for about an hour. The initial weeks are about exploration. So you will be assigned academic papers, journal articles, things like that for you to read and wrestle with on your own, so that you can then come back to your meeting with your mentor and have a conversation about what it is you've learned that week. What have you found challenging? What open questions you have? I hadn't read an academic paper before going to college, and I certainly wish I had, because from day one at university, this is the kind of thing you're expected to do. And so I think it's a great opportunity to learn those skills of engaging with research papers and thinking about how they're structured. Of course, it will be difficult, but that's the goal of those initial weeks, is learning how to do it. And once you've started to get your bearing a little bit, you feel a bit more confident, you know what's in the topic area, you then pick a research question, a specific question that you dive into for the rest of the program. So from about week 4 or 5, you're working on that individual paper of your own. And now your meetings with your mentor become less about teaching you the material and more about guidance and supervision. So the mentor gives you feedback on what you've written so far, helps you think about how to structure your time over the next few weeks to get the paper done. And finally, you finish up the paper, the mentor writes you an evaluation, we have a graduation ceremony where we celebrate you, and then the program ends. So that's how it's structured, and that's what research involves. It involves exploring the area that you're interested in, not just through random Google searches, but through academic literature, picking a specific question that's answerable in the time, and then diving deep into it and learning as much as you can about it through a variety of methods, whether that's a literature review where you're taking existing knowledge and structuring it into a paper, whether that's a survey, whether that's data analysis of data available online. Whatever it is that you're doing it, and then you're writing up a paper that describes your findings, and then you get to present it and send it out into the world. That's what research involves, and that's how we have created this process and the structure for you guys to be successful at it, no matter what level of experience you're coming into the program with. And we've really had students do research in pretty much every field you can imagine, ranging from data science and physics and genetics, all the way through to philosophy and history and gender studies. You name it, we've probably got a mentor in that field. And our mentors are current PhD students at top universities in the US and the UK. So for example, Caitlin is a mentor of ours who's been with us right from the beginning, who's a PhD at Harvard in biology. Praise is at UCLA studying clinical psychology. So that means the kinds of questions you might have about psychological disorders and how to treat them. Bhargav is in economics and labor economics in particular. Sana is an all-star mentor of ours in astrophysics and cosmology from Yale. And Sam, who just mentored with us in the last cohort and is mentoring again in the summer with us, is from MIT and studying international affairs. And if you go on our Instagram page, you can actually find one of Sam's students presenting his research at the symposium. So we have a video of that up on our Instagram page, which I'll share in the chat at the end of this. Those are the types of mentors. And they're incredibly cool, incredibly accomplished, and you might feel a little bit intimidated looking at them. But don't worry, because our students are students and people just like all of you. So Jaden, for example, was a 9th grader, so very young. And she came in with a little bit of economics background. She'd read a few books in economics, but she was really interested in studying how nonprofit organizations affected the GDP of the United States, whether they added to it by providing useful services that people need, or whether it actually ended up hurting GDP because they took away people who were skilled and accomplished from doing more commercially useful tasks to things that were less commercially useful. And so she did the project with us last year, and she ended up writing this research proposal, which I found incredibly interesting and quite advanced for a student of her age, and that she hopes to take forward into a fuller research paper. Shreyas, on the other hand, is from Bangalore in India, and he was interested in two things that you might not think of as related. He was interested in machine learning and in tennis. And so what he did was he brought those two interests together by constructing a machine learning model that tried and predicted whether the handedness of a player, whether he's a left-handed or right-handed, can help predict whether or not someone wins a match. So it was a really interesting data analysis model that he put together and wrote in his paper. And he just emailed us to let us know that it's been accepted for publication at the International Journal of High School Research. And so we're very excited to see that come out and actually, be published in a high school level journal. So we've had one social science student, one STEM student, and Lynn was much closer to the humanities. So she's from Vietnam, and she was interested in studying how protesters in Hong Kong use the visual arts as a way to express themselves. So really three incredibly different students from different parts of the world, but who were brought together by an excitement for research and a motivation to dig deeper into questions that they were excited by, and students who I cannot wait to see where their academic career takes them in the years to come. We offer a number of different programs. Most students do the individual research program, which is the one in the middle, which is 12 weeks long, where you have 9 sessions with the mentor and of course workshops and time with our writing instructors who are incredible. And the idea there is that you're just working on one-on-one with a mentor to write that paper. The two other programs are a little bit different. The topic focused program is oriented towards people who prefer to work in groups, at least at the beginning. So for the first 4 weeks, you're working in a small group of 2 to 4 students. And then from there, you break into one-on-one sessions with your mentor. And on the flip side, the premium research program is geared towards thinking about publication from the beginning. So in the other two programs, you write the paper, and then of course, if you want to pursue publication on your own, you're more than welcome to go for it. But in this, we help you think about that from the beginning. So you've got many more sessions with the mentor to do a more substantial paper. And you might need help on thinking about which type of high school journal do I target? How do I ensure that my paper meets the criteria that they have? What does the submission process look like? Of course, no program can assure you publication. If a program does assure you publication, then please run far away from it, because that's not a program that is rigorous or that is selective or that has any academic integrity. But what we do is we help you through the process of publication. And if they come back to you with edits or they come back to you with a rejection, we'll then help you find one other alternative backup journal and submit to it. So we try and make the process as smooth as possible for you. And of course, so this is the cost associated with the programs are here as well. But if your family is earning lower than about 15 lakhs per year in the Indian context, or if in the US and beyond, if you're on subsidized or free lunch, then those are students who we are more than happy to include as part of our need-based financial aid program. So when you look at when you look at the application form, there's a space there which asks if you're planning to apply for financial aid and why you need the financial aid. So in that situation, we ask that you explain your financial background and how much aid you need, and we'll do our best, if you're accepted into the program, to provide you with the aid needed to succeed in the program. So that's the program, and that's what research is, and that's how you can do it. Our fall cohort is coming up in September, and our deadline for that is in a little under a month, in about 3 weeks. I'll put the application form in the chat as well. And so if you're interested in doing the program this fall, please fill the application out, and we would love to interview you and get to know you a little bit better. But if the fall isn't the right time for you, that's totally okay. We have a winter cohort that comes up in December and a spring cohort in March. And of course, our summer cohort, which is our biggest and most competitive, that starts in June of next year. So we're looking forward to hearing from you and to see the incredible ideas that you put forth for your research. And if you would like to learn more, please do feel free to email us. I will also put a sign-up form in the chat through which we will send out this brochure and all of the other information that's needed. Awesome. So while I pull those links out, Helen, are there any questions in the Q&A that you think I haven't covered yet that would be useful?
Yes, we have a lot of questions coming up actually, and thank you so much, Dhruva, for giving an overview of Lumiere education as well as the research programs that are being offered. Before we move to the Q&A session, I would like to share a great opportunity with the students. That is, Next Genius Webinars is hosting an online research symposium on August 6th, and it is in collaboration with Lumiere Education. So during this research symposium, you can create your own research proposal, and you can meet researchers from various fields like computer science, data science, physics, humanities, and a lot more. And these researchers who are professors at colleges in the US or PhD researchers at Harvard, Oxford, or other top universities will share their research journey and will share about their research topic, research methodology, and much more. And many were asking about which grades are which students from which grades can apply for the research programs.
Yeah.
It's ideal for grade 9 to 12th.
That's a
With
great
that, we
question. On the grades,
yeah.
I think 9 to 12 is who we're open to, but I'll say two things. One is within that, the 11th and the 10th and 11th grade are where we see the most interest, because by the time students get to the 12th, they're quite busy and stressed out about everything else in their lives. And we also get a few students do the program every cohort who are either on gap years, or even some undergraduates do the program. And the nature of a one-on-one program and the beauty of a one-on-one program is, if you're an undergrad who's doing the program because you're applying to master's degrees and so on, the mentor can simply calibrate their expectations based on which level you're at. And so we find that the undergrads doing the program do end up enjoying it. So you will be surrounded by a lot of high school students.
Right. Thank you, Dhruva. We have a few questions. I have filtered out the most relevant ones.
Yeah.
So the first question is, how do students find research programs according to their interested field?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. There's, broadly speaking, I'd say three ways that you could do it. One is you could look at structured research programs that are run by universities. So, for instance, MIT runs a research program called the MIT Research Sciences Institute, MIT RSI. Boston University has a summer research internship program as well. And I think if you look further, I'm sure local universities in India, including, for instance, IIT Madras as well, I've heard has a research program for high school students. So these are structured programs run by high school students, run for high school students by universities. And I definitely recommend you consider those and apply. And of course, they're very competitive, but it's worth trying because there's nothing like being in that university context. The second thing you could do is you could reach out to professors yourself. So you could email out, if you find a professor who is working in an area that you're interested in, reach out to them. I would recommend reaching out to many of them and trying to bump them a couple of times, because professors end up being quite busy. And so you'll probably hear a lot of no's, but if you keep at it, you might find someone who's willing to take you on. Now, with both of these, the nature of what you're doing is that you are probably going to be helping somebody else with their own research. So whether you're doing research at a university or with a professor, they're going to find it hard to take time out of their schedules to be guiding you on your specific research project. Much more likely that you will be helping them clean up their data and do the analysis and so on, which can be fantastic in terms of the experience that you have. But it's at the end of the day not what you're looking for. So that's something that some of you might be looking for, some of you might not, and I'd recommend that you consider the pros and cons of it before choosing one of those options. The third option is to look for independent research programs like Lumiere. So there's one called Pioneer, for instance, which is open to students as well. And what these types of organizations do, and of course I think Lumiere does it particularly well, is that we allow you to pursue your own interests and do that in association with a researcher. And of course, that means that it's structured as a program, and there's a tuition cost, just like any summer camp or other program does. And that will allow you to experience what coming up with your own research question and doing your own research looks like.
Right. Thank you, Dhruva. Now we have another question, and we can close the session with this one. That is, how do students actually choose the research area, because they have no idea about it and they are not provided any tips prior to joining the program. So how do they choose a particular research area?
That's a great question. I would say first begin with what are you curious about. So when you're just hanging out, thinking about what about your studies or whatever, what excites you? What in the world, whether it's in your own human body, out in space, in the news, makes you feel, that's interesting. I find that a bit odd. The second thing to do after you begin with that curiosity is to dig deep into it. So read as widely as you can, whether that starts with Wikipedia articles and newspaper articles, going into books or textbooks about it, maybe even doing Coursera or edX courses about it. And that'll help you get a little bit of background and understanding of what the field involves. And hopefully, as you do that, you'll start to realize what you are and are not interested in. And then you pick a specific area that you want to explore more in detail for research. And remember that this is not a super high stakes choice. What you do a research program in 10th grade does not determine what you are going to study at university. It does not determine what your career is going to be. So if you're stuck between 2 or 3 choices, pick one that you're excited about, that you think you'll enjoy exploring, and run with it. And if in the worst case, you end up disliking it and you realize that that's not for you, and you can then make a more informed choice about the others. In the best case, you find that amazing and you enjoy it, and then you can keep doing more research in that area. So that's how I would think about it. I wouldn't stress too much about it, but I would put some thought and care and work into figuring that out.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dhruva, for the session. Before we close this, I would like to share a few resources with the students. First is the Ask Us Anything initiative of Next Genius webinars. You can share all your doubts and queries with us regarding college admissions, applications, IELTS, or anything. And our counselors are here to answer your doubts through recorded videos. And we'll be sharing the same on our Instagram account, that is Next Genius Webinars. Link is provided in the chat box. You can either use the link to ask your questions or you can DM us your doubts. The second thing is we have two upcoming fairs in the month of August. One is the Research Symposium, which I just talked about a few minutes earlier, wherein we are collaborating with Lumiere Education. And the second one is Study Medicine Abroad. You could register for both the events using the links that are provided in the chat box. And the third thing is we have a YouTube channel, YouTube account, that is Next Genius Webinars, where we post a lot of informational and educational videos of college admissions, profile building, what to study at college, essays workshop, how you can write essays for your college applications, SAT, ACT prep videos, and much more. You can access our YouTube channel using the link provided in the chat box. So before we end this session, Dhruva, any final piece of advice or comments you would like to share with our students?
Yes, of course. It's to say it can feel like high school can feel like a time when everybody else has got it figured out and you need to get it exactly right in order to be successful. But I can tell you from someone who all the way through high school and still doesn't feel like he has any idea what he's doing, that's absolutely not true. What you need to be doing is experimenting, working hard, and looking out for the things that you're curious in and digging deep into those. And I truly, truly believe that research can be an amazing way of doing that. So I hope to see you all apply to Lumiere. But regardless, I'm wishing you guys all the best of luck. And thank you to Next Genius for organizing such a fantastic event.
Thank you so much, Dhruva.
Thank you all.
We'll
Bye-bye.
see you at Research Symposium. Bye.